So here it is, Wednesday the 16th of May 2018, and I'm heading south from the central southern Los Angeles area on State Highway 71, aiming for San Diego and the San Diego Aviation Museum. But for some reason there's a 40-minute slowdown on this stretch of road. Don't know if it's an accident or construction or whatever, but I'm actually moving a little bit now instead of crawling as I was up until, a minute or two ago. But at least the weather's nice and clear, and I can get some views of this attractive mountain range ahead. So now we're in San Diego, and just trying to maneuver the last couple of miles. So now we're in Balboa Park, which is a very large park with lots of museums and other attractions in it.
Turn left at the traffic light. In 1/4 mile, turn left on Pan American Plaza. Turn right.
And here's the San Diego Air and Space Museum.
Turn left on Pan American Plaza.
You know, it's California when you actually see charging stations. So they have an SR-71 on a pedestal, and as nice as that is, I'm still a big fan of the, is this Convair? I forget who makes this thing. It's like the Sea Dart or whatever. I'll verify that. My memory's a little foggy on that, but it was always a very cool airplane. Nothing like having your museum right under the glide path for the San Diego airport. There's a automotive museum right across here too. Maybe we'll have a chance to go in there. That stadium that I got a peek into is the Starlight. Famous place here in Balboa Park. And it is now 10 a.m. so the museum doors should be open. Now I said the theater was the Starlight, but it's actually the Starlight Bowl. If you think we're just about rebuilding another theater, think again. So I don't know if they actually are using that these days or if it's kind of closed down for renovations. This is the rotunda at the entrance. This is a replica of the Spirit of St. Louis.
Where you'll experience firsthand the thrill of flight. Enjoy your visit to the San Diego Aviation Space Museum. And please come back soon.
So this orange craft hanging from the ceiling is the Ryan BQM-34F Fire B2. And right overhead is the General Atomics RQ-1K Predator. And this is the Apollo 9 command module known as Gumdrop. So this is an actual flown Apollo capsule.
Oh yes, oh definitely, yeah,
It's the instrument panel from a Bell X-1. There's a bunch of stuff sort of jammed in here where you can't get to it at the moment. This is supposedly the capsule that Ham, the chimp, went into space with. Not sure where they got all these exhibits packed in here. This is a Northrop Grumman RQ-4A Global Hawk. It's a model of it, it's not a real one. And it's hard to get a view of it, but
by dedicated engineers and scientists.
that's a Northrop Grumman MQ-8B Fire Scout.
You'll visit one company laboratory with Petersen space vehicles side by side. The greatest achievements by brilliant engineers from the aviation and space community. You'll also see the only GPS satellite transmitted anywhere in the world. A technology we take for granted every day. And don't miss the Flight City. And you'll experience firsthand real flight. Enjoy your visit to the San Diego Air and Space Museum. And please come back soon.
Hard to do much with the glare. Looks like most of the controls are in there, but they've obviously replaced the computer with a cardboard mock-up. This is the Montgomery Evergreen glider. And this is a mock-up of the Bell X1. So this is the early flight gallery. There's a big exhibit of things related to Dunlop here. Egyptian bird-shaped glider, manually propellered helicopter toy, an aerial top from 1862, a 1809 feathered helicopter toy, an 1870 ornithopter. This one is not identified. And this is a rubber band powered craft. That's actually a pusher design. The propeller is on the rear. This is an 1869 steam airplane engine, although I'm not sure if this is a real one or a mock-up. Let's see. So that is a model. This is Henson Stringfellow's 1847 aerial steam carriage model thereof. Model of George Cayley's 1817 airship. And George Cayley's twin helicopter. And an 1870 ornithopter. 1886 steam-powered tractor biplane model. And this one has been seen in a lot of old footage, the 1893 multiplane test rig. This is a model, of course. And a model of the Ariel steam carriage. And some variations on Lawrence Hargrave's 1893 box kite. A model of the consolidated PT-11 of the 1909 Antoinette, and the card is missing, but this looks like Langley's aerodrome. The Flying Aces Dart rubber band model, and some others that don't have tags on them. A nice gallery of paintings of important aviation individuals. I'm not going to try to identify every one of these. Some model aircraft pulse jets. These are CO2 motors run off of compressed CO2 cartridges. It's a 9-cylinder radial Gasparin CO2 motor. This is a fairly primitive RC airplane showing an old tube type receiver, and those would be the batteries down there. This is the first successful radio control system. This doesn't have a normal proportional control for the rudder. Instead, the radio receiver energizes a solenoid in there, which trips a mechanical escapement mechanism. When the escapement is tripped, it allows 1/4 turn of rotation around a pivot, driven by a force supplied by the wound up rubber band right there. this quarter turn through a link to the rudder causes the rudder to turn to one side. Then when the radio receiver gets a second signal, the actuator is again moved 1/4 turn, causing it to go back to neutral. Third pulse causes it to go to the opposite direction. This cycle of operation can be repeated as required to control the rudder position with successive signal pulses, left neutral or right neutral, left neutral, and again right, etc., etc. There's a nice gallery of model airplane engines, up to some fairly complex ones. Sort of a diorama of Chanute's katydid glider. Morning.
Okay, you just come down here. Same step over. This is my right leg.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we have a Mercury.
Yeah, that's a Mercury, and it's a mock-up too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mock-up. You surrender.
Right. And you said this is the copy of the Montgolfier. Of course, it's smaller probably than the real one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. The real one was pretty big. Yeah.
Paper makers. Yeah.
I thought maybe this was like the size of an early test balloon, but this is the one that, yeah, they've got the little figure there that I didn't even see when I first looked.
Now I forgot how big the one was.
Da Vinci's one from his sketchbooks.
One of his ornithopters. Yeah, because he did all kinds of other things. Helicopter, Chanute's airplane. When he was talking with the Wright brothers, when he was corresponding with the Wright brothers. And what it did was, this kind of stimulated a kind of antenna
Lilienthal glider, or I'm sorry, Wright Brothers glider. That's the 1902 you said?
Yeah, this is the 1902 glider, and this is the one that carried over to 1903, and then they put the engine in. But this is actually the glider in which they felt, the record. And that airplane there, which you can see from the other side, there's an airplane here called Little Looper by this guy, I'm having a hard time with names this morning. Lincoln Beechey.
Okay.
There's an aviator named Lincoln Beechey. A lot of people probably, he was really Little Looper.
So that's actually occurred. Is that a reproduction or is that an authentic one?
I think that's a reproduction.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll have to find out. Anyway,
Is that the Cayley?
Cayley. Charles Cayley was the guy who was called the father of aviation.
Over 50 flights all over. And then at the end he was killed.
This is a Curtiss A1 reproduction. And this is an Albatross DVA reproduction. The red aircraft down here is a reproduction of a Fokker DR1. And this is a reproduction of a Fokker E3 Eindecker, which just means monoplane. This is a Newport Model 11 reproduction. And this is a Newport 28. And sitting back here is a SPAD 7. This is a scale model of the Zeppelin L-31. And this aircraft here is a Lincoln Standard J1. Or I'm sorry, that's this guy up here is the Lincoln Standard J1. This guy over here is a consolidated PT-1 Trusty. Up above is a Aranca C3 Collegian. And this is a Curtiss JN4D Jenny. And as near as I can tell, this is Ryan reproduction. An M1 basically reproduction. This should be a Fleet Model 2. And this is a Lockheed Vega 5B reproduction made for the movie Amelia. And up here is a Bolus SP-1 Albatross. And this is a Ryan STA. And down here on the ground is a GB R1 reproduction. This is a Piper J3 Cub. This is a Bolus RA100 glider. Down here is a Robinson R44 helicopter. And this is a Ryan B5 Brougham. And this is a Pitts Special. This is supposedly a 1/4 scale B-24 Liberator. It doesn't seem like that scale is correct. If it was, then you put 4 of these things side by side and it should be equal to the wingspan of a real B-24. It looks like it would maybe be equal to the wingspan of one wing, not both. I'm wondering if it almost looks more like it's 1/8 scale, but they say it's 1/4, so I'll take that with a grain of salt. Nice model of a B-36. I'm not sure the scale on that one. This is a Horton 229 or a V3 or 229/V3 mock-up. And this should be a Stearman N2S3 Cadet.
Welcome to our museum.
This is a North American P-51D Mustang. And this is a Messerschmitt Bf 109 G14. It's a mock-up. And this is a Supermarine Spitfire, model Mark 16. And this is the nose section of a C-47 or DC-3.
How did we get there?
And this should be a Douglas SBD-4 Dauntless. And down here is a Chance Vought F4U Corsair. And this is a Mitsubishi A6M70. It does not indicate that it's a reproduction, so it may be the real McCoy. And this is a Grumman F6 F3 Hellcat. And up there is a F4 Wildcat, wings folded. Some nice models of the USS Langley, the Navy's first carrier, and the USS Abraham Lincoln. And the USS Gambier, or Gambier Bay. And this is the USS Yorktown. This area is supposed to look like part of an aircraft carrier. Bit of a mock up here, but this is a Douglas A4B Skyhawk. They have some flight simulator rigs here. And this is a FA-18 Hornet marked as Blue Angel 1. And this is a Gemini mock-up. And overhead, a command and service module, Apollo, that is, mock-up. And this is supposed to be a legitimate Boeing GPS-12 GPS satellite that did not get used. And then there's the gift shop. Kind of a racing plane with the skin removed. I don't know what kind. The structural area there is presumably where the wing connects. So the pilot's behind the wing and two engines up front ahead of the wing. So, just for grins here, this is the layout of the museum. The entrance and the rotunda are here, and then it's basically a big counterclockwise loop progressing from early aviation up through World War I, World War II, and modern. Now there's still a central area, the Edwin McKellar Pavilion of Flight, which is in the middle, and that's the next place. This is a Ford 5A13 tri-motor. And up here is a Bell AH-1E Cobra. This is a consolidated PBY 5A Catalina. And this is a McDonnell Douglas F4J Phantom II. And a MiG-17. I still hope to be able to get to fly on a Catalina someday, but it seemed like nobody was operating any one of them anywhere near where I live. I think just in other countries. This is nicely displayed here. And what do we have? A 1932 Ford Phaeton. And a Ford V8 Deluxe Roadster from 1933. One of the docents told me this building was originally built for like a World's Fair or something. He wasn't too clear on which one, or if it was a World's Fair or just a national fair, some kind of a fair showing progress in industry and the sciences and so on, and that this building was supposedly the one for the Ford exhibition or Ford exhibit. I have not verified that, that's just what the guy told me. But that the whole thing was supposed to be laid out like an engine or a gear or something. I don't quite see it myself, but maybe I'm not looking at it from the right angle. They also have a 3D, 4D theater here. Not a very big one. I have to see what they're doing with it today. And I was guessing at what this was before, but it's definitely a Convair, and it's a YF2Y1 Sea Dart.